YouTube and Facebook using StreamYard. So I'm getting you all at once. The chances of me answering all of your questions is going to be a little slim, but I will try my best. And if I don't fully answer them all, just email me, DM me the question, and I will answer it. All right. So first of all, hope you had a good Mother's Day, or your mother's had a good Mother's Day. We had a great one. It was the first time in a year, I guess. Last Mother's Day kind of sucked because we all just didn't meet up. But this year was a good one. Full family, everything. So can't beat that. So my talk today, a little bit of Monday mindset or Mindset Monday, whatever you want to call it. But sometimes when you get on a program, and you guys know what I'm talking about, you guys remember the motivation you get when it's day one, week one of anything that you do. The excitement's there. You got some adrenaline pumping. You know, that feeling of, you know, the motivation going into that new training cycle, or maybe it's your first time working out in a very long time. There's a lot of motivation there. A lot of times we bite off a little too much at first, and we tend to learn our lesson and try to pace yourself a little better. But there's not much better motivation than that day one, week one, whenever you are starting a new program. Whether you invested money into a program or you saw something for free online, doesn't matter. You know, you want to get after it. So I like to treat Monday like day one, week one, every week, and try to remember some of those exciting day ones I've had in my life, whether it's day one in the military or day one first phase at Buds or day one at the SEAL team, you know, whatever that was. You know, those day ones are really exciting, and you can kind of harness some of that energy and remember some of that motivation, because here's the deal. We're never going to feel motivated to go work out all the time. But when you're highly motivated in that day one, week one phase, your opportunity to build good habits is critical, right? It's right there in front of you. Build good habits during this motivational phase that you have. And next thing you know, that motivation has turned into habits. Those habits have turned into have turned into discipline. Sorry, I was reading a post real quick, came up trying to find some questions. And what happens is that discipline is what you're going to rely on 3, 4 weeks, months, years later, when you don't feel that day one, week one motivation. So there you go. There's my 2 cents for Mindset Monday. And if you can treat your day like it's day one, week one, you will crush it. So let's take some questions. There's a lot of questions going to be occurring. Those of you who just signed on, I am on Instagram on my story over here, but I'm also on my YouTube channel and my Facebook channel over here. And I'm just doing it all at once. So the chances of me getting to all the questions are slim, but I will do my best for the next, which we'll try to go for an hour here. So headed to MEPS today. Any advice? Yes, that's a good one. You know, there's not much you can do at MEPS other than just tolerate, hurry up and wait, and just get through it. You know, have a good attitude about it. And I've seen people go through it really fast. But then I've also seen people take a very long time. It just depends on the MEP station, to be honest with you. Some are better than others, or some are busier than others. Let's say that. But yeah, just go in. I mean, MEPS is not much of a thing. There's things that you can't change about yourself, and they're going to find out, where your medical issues are, whether it's color blindness or depth perception. Those seem to be the two big ones lately that have been crushing people's spec ops dreams, which requires you to get other exams done. Depth perception is something you can train, so look into how you can do that. I don't know how to do that, but some of my guys are getting some depth perception training from some kind of ophthalmologist or something. But anyway, good luck. Let me know how it goes. Another next question here. When you were in buds, what was the furthest you would swim off the beach shore? Asking because I'm working to build confidence in the ocean. We always swam parallel to the beach. So we might have been just past the breakers, so maybe 100 yards off, but we swam for miles along the beach. So it's not that scary. All right, let's go over here to Instagram. Some of you guys have been asking questions already. Let's see what we have. All right. Have you read all the books behind you? I've written all the books behind me. All the books I've read are the ones behind you back here. These are all my books. Let's see. Can you talk briefly about age waivers? 29 years old, setting goals to achieve next year in order to crush the PST and have a shot at selection buds or CCT. My advice for you who was bordering on the maximum age to attend one of those buds, I think SF selection and CCT PJs are a different age range. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm pretty sure it's higher. So have that as a plan A, plan B. But if you plan for all of them all at once, which is what I would recommend, it's going to be very similar. You still got to run, swim, pull up, push up, sit ups to get to the training, just different order for the pass test. And then, you need to be rucking, need to be lifting, need to be swimming and treading a lot to get through those training, unless you go Army. But you need to be rucking a lot if you're going to do that. The waiver process is difficult in buds right now. It's pretty much on a case-by-case basis, and they're pretty slim. They have plenty of candidates trying to fill up spots that they don't need many filled up. So they're being a little more picky these days with the caliber and age of people coming in. So it's not that it's full, it's just more competitive right now because the numbers that they need are fewer than they used to, and only the best are getting in. So if you're a really good candidate at 29, you have a chance, but once again, it's a case-by-case basis. All right. How do you know, or Stu, do you know any great physical therapists in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area? I personally don't use any right now. I haven't used any in over a decade, probably. There are several great ones nearby. I would just go on Google and try to find some, to be honest. We have a doctor of physical therapy who comes and works out with us here locally. Seth Donaldson, great guy. He's been very helpful with our guys, but no, I really don't know of any personal recommendations I can give you, or running coaches for that matter. Let's see. Hey, Stu, can we practice the UBRR on a daily basis? Woo, why would you do that? maxing out only a few exercises a day. You'd have to be really smart about it and maybe divide the upper body round robin exercises into push and pull, because they're all upper body. So that's like, are you going to do upper body every day of the week? That would mean a lot of the same exercises day after day after day. And that kind of volume needs some better recovery. Less is more. So every other day, I would say yes. But anything, I would break it up like this. Any pulling exercise you can do on one day, any pushing exercise you do on the next day, and then alternate the push pull. But don't skip leg day. Better add some legs in there too, because you're going to be running and rucking as well. Let's see. All right, let's go over here to Instagram here. Let's see. Any advice on time, days to swim, run, workout for someone who works 60 hours a week? Man, that's a tough one. I remember those days. Finding it incredibly hard to prep for SO. Yes, that is hard to do. Because here's the problem. Something's got to give. It's either your work's got to give, your training's got to give, or your sleep and nutrition's got to give. And all of them have to be working for you to see good results, because you're going to be burning the candle at both ends. You work 60 hours a week, you got to really nail down your sleep and nutrition just to recover from that. Then you're going to add in hardcore training for a couple hours a day. Let's say 10, maybe 12 hours a week is probably what you could fit in there. So that's 72 hours in a week. My recommendation is, if you're working 5 days a week, make your longer workouts on the weekends. So you get your longer runs and your swims and your rucks, hardcore PTs and stuff on Saturday and Sunday. But then you take your rest day and mobility day during the week somewhere. So you might work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a Tuesday, Thursday day off or something, just for recovery purposes on your busiest day of the week. That's one way to juggle it. But you got to really nail down the sleep and nutrition. And I tell you, one thing that will crush your recovery is if you're adding in a lot of drinking, alcohol, partying, late nights, missing sleep. That's, I would imagine at 60 hours a week plus training SO, you probably don't have a lot of time for that anyway. I would try to avoid it, because it's just going to screw up your recovery even more. So that's my 2 cents for this big week. Let's go back over here to, let's go back over here to YouTube here. Started learning proper swimming 2 years ago by myself. Remember how hard it was? Okay, where's the question? Are you going to ask a question on this one? Come on, man. Ask questions. I don't need paragraphs of commentary. Not trying to be rude, but it just interrupts the show if you're not asking questions. What's the bathroom situation during buds? And everybody goes to the bathroom naturally. It just happens. You get bathroom breaks. There's bathrooms everywhere. And when you're in the water, you just pee there. But to be honest with you, you work out so hard during buds that you rarely crap. I'm not joking about that. You use just about every bit of your food that you bring in, especially during Hell Week. During the work day, there's always time during lunch and even breakfast to get it done. And usually morning time is one of those times before the day starts. Most people are getting it done. If for some reason it doesn't work for you and doesn't come out, it will probably come out during a run. I've actually had that happen once. Tried beforehand, didn't work, wound up shitting my pants during a run. What are you going to do? Got wet, cleaned it out, did the rest of the day. So there's a lot of little things that I think are unnecessarily concerning to people. Whether or not you're going to be able to use the bathroom is one of them. Who cares? You're going to be able to use the bathroom. You need to worry about running and swimming and being crushed under a log long before you worry about whether or not you'll be able to go to the bathroom. Obviously, you'll be able to go to the bathroom. Okay, let's try to ask better questions. Will adding rucking to my training help with preparation for buds? Yes. You should be running and swimming. And you should be adding rucking. Back in my day, where it wasn't a whole lot of rucking going on until third phase. And by then, it wasn't a big deal. This wasn't something you really needed to prepare for. Yeah, we still ruck 20 miles, but by third phase, you can crush anything they put at you. So it wasn't a big deal. So now they do ruck first and second phase and third phase, and it is pretty challenging on soft sand. Soft sand rucking, whew, it's not fun. You should practice. So let's see. Okay, been fighting posterior shin splints for over a year. Damn, that's a long time, man. Take the recommended time off, start off nice and easy, flares back up again. I don't know, man. That sounds something beyond my pay grade. I'm sure you've probably been to a doctor about it, and if it's not working. We had somebody who had chronic shin splints like that recently. And they found out that it's not shin splints, that it's compartment syndrome, which there are surgeries for that, which are I don't necessarily recommend it. But one thing that helped them was an aggressive foam rolling session before and after each run. And really find that spot, whether it was a foam roller or it was a lacrosse ball, or even, I think they even dug in there and got a golf ball on it. See if that helps. It might just be, the fascia around the muscle that is restricting the muscle from being able to move, or be able to do what it's supposed to do naturally. But take a look at compartment syndrome and see what you think about that. Do a little Google search, see if there's some physical therapists on YouTube discussing what it is and maybe some ideas for treatment. But that's getting above, once again, my experience in dealing with it. I haven't dealt with it personally either. How long is a seal grinder PT? I'd say usually 45, 60 minutes. You'll be getting after a lot of upper body, leg exercises, a lot of push-ups, a lot of abs, a lot of flutter kicks. You'll be wet and sandy. I tell you one thing that I was not prepared for. I was prepared for flutter kicks with boots and pants on. But being wet and sandy with wet pants and wet boots and doing flutter kicks, that's a game changer, right? That's kind of like weightlifting flutter kicks. So if you got a 5-pound set of ankle weights, do some flutter kicks with that for a little while, and that's what it feels like when your pants are wet and sandy. It's something you just suck up and get it over with, but you definitely feel it. Did I have fun at Buds? Yes. Yeah, it was fun. It was hard. It was challenging. I was pretty well prepared, but at the same time, it was a lot of fun. It's a good challenge. I was 22 years old and ready to take it on. So it was, learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about teamwork. You can't do it on your own. Requires teamwork, that's for sure. For spec ops training, should I prep for sleep deprivation portion or just deal with it as it comes? You know what? It's a really good question. I would say there's only two answers to that. One, play around with sleep deprivation, see how you handle it. And two, don't, and just suck it up when it comes. I think both are good answers. You know, I did not train for it. I think probably the most closest thing I ever did to training for sleep deprivation might have been spring break in Daytona Beach when I was 18 years old, doing stupid stuff well into the early mornings. But that's another story. So how many miles a week did I run before I left for buds? I was up to between 35 and 40 miles a week before I left. I recommend, you don't need to get that high. I just needed to be a better endurance athlete than I was because I came in as a strength and power athlete, you know, when I started training. So I focused a lot on running and swimming and biking every day. I was basically triathlon training for my cardio prior to buds. And the time that I spent on a bike was still extra cardio that I would say would have probably added another 20 miles of running in time wise. So the amount of time that it takes me to run another 20 miles was how many miles or time I was on a bike. But it was safer for me being a heavier guy, not putting all that impact on. So I would highly recommend maybe doing like the bike run combination if you're trying to not go too crazy on your mileage, especially if you're nursing shins or knees or any other overuse injuries like that. It's a good way to almost double your cardio, but at the same time, cut in half your impact on your body. So that's kind of what I've been doing now with my guys here locally and myself. I still do a lot more non-impact in a run. Like I think I'm running 22, 23 miles a week right now. But I'm biking probably and swimming another 10K, biking another, I don't know, another hour maybe. Not crazy, but it's just enough to put in some extra cardio. So there you go. All right. Any issue doing the fall, winter lift cycle in the spring? No, not at all. In fact, you could do this one, increase strength and crush the PST pass test. That's basically our winter lift cycle. That is every fourth week is a PST training week. So it turns into calisthenics and cardio every 4 weeks, 16-week program, builds strength, helps you maintain and even get better at PST and pass test scores, because that's what it's kind of designed with the run, swim, high rep calisthenic stuff in it. So that's a good one. But yeah, you can, if you need to be more of a strength, or I should say, if you have strength and power as your weakness, you're a pretty good endurance athlete, I would recommend doing a lift cycle. Do I know Jake Zweig? Yes. If you look on this YouTube channel, you'll see a podcast I did with Jake. I did a 2 through and after with Jake. I knew him from the academy as well. He was a little younger than me, but yeah. What are competitive PT scores for Green Team? Just food for thought as to what is possible. I know their test is different from the PST. Yeah, they have some different elements. I tell you what the hardest thing about that test, I think, is the 3-minute push-up and sit-up test instead of 2-minute test. That's freaking hard, man. Building your endurance up to handle 3 minutes of push-ups is challenging. You know, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure. That's definitely not published information, and you just got to go there and crush it. Let's be honest. I mean, you've been in the teams for 4 or 5 years before you apply for green team. Obviously, physically, you're a stud. It's not what they're necessarily looking for. They're looking for tactical proficiency, and depending on your personality too, does it jibe with that command? Because it's just a different world over there. So most people who don't make it there isn't because of failing a physical test. It's because of something else on the tactical side. So if we're training with Jeff right now, can we come train with you too in Maryland? Yeah, sure. Go to heroesoftomorrow.org and check out our program here in Maryland. We're outside the whole time, not inside. We do swimming workouts, but it has to be done on an individual basis. And, you rent the pool process, however that works, buy a lane to swim in, reserve it. Just COVID issues keep us all from being able to swim together. So, but I will coach swimming too if people need it. Let's see. What would you do if you would get pneumonia in buds? You're done for a little while anyway. We had one of our guys get pneumonia, and he got rolled for 2 classes, and but he eventually made it through. So it's common. It's common enough where people, know how to deal with it and know how to treat you for it. But it can be a horrible snowball that turns into a mess. If you are starting to cough blood, stop what you're doing and go to medical, right? Because that's going to lead to pneumonia. And if you're still out there sucking up that, you're going to have a crazy high fever. You're probably going to get heat exhaustion. And then that's going to lead to rhabdo. And you talk about a snowball that will ruin your chances of recovery and getting ready for the next class, no matter if you're a double roll or a single roll, is you get those 4 things going against you. Coughing up blood like SIPE, swimmer-induced pulmonary edema. That evolves into pneumonia. That evolves into heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and then that evolves into rhabdomyolysis. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch that it's going to take you a year to recover from. So don't be stupid and try to suck up coughing up blood. You should talk to somebody when you cough up blood, or pee blood for that matter. How often should you train for the Camis swim, or just focus on being a strong swimmer? Great question for you guys that are going recon. That is a tough test, man. I will tell you this. You don't want your first time ever swimming with a pair of Camis on the day you take a test. It is hard, right? So you should practice swimming with your Camis on. I personally would say once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks at the least, you should add on a Camis swim, even if it's just for 500. I would suggest this. Anytime you're going for a long swim workout, make your warm-up once a week or once every other week the 500-meter swim with Camis on, because that is hard. You got to get used to it, because if you don't realize how much it sucks, you're going to be saying in the middle of your swim, oh my God, this sucks so much. But as long as you know that going in, it's a whole different mind game. You can prepare for that suck. Otherwise, it's painful. Okay, we got an odd question here. What would you know Would you know what SQT graduates have to do to volunteer or be selected for the SOC-M course? Well, first, it's more of a request. You just put it in. After you've finished SQT, you're going to go through a very long course. But it also depends on, what does your team need corpsmen? That's a big issue. I'm not sure exactly. I'm pretty sure you go to your team first, and then you go to SOC-M. Could be wrong. Don't get me wrong. They've changed things, like I change underwear every year. They make a lot of changes. So it used to be you go back to your team. People would say, hey, we need some corpsmen. Do you anybody want to volunteer for a SOC-M course? You go do that. So, but yes, that's how it works. Playing college football, how do you manage both training for spec ops and your sport without burning out or doing too much? I personally say you don't. If you're playing college football, taking college classes, probably the last thing you can really do, at least during the season, is prepare for spec ops in the middle of a season. That's just almost impossible. My one piece of advice would be this: is swimming is a good tool for recovery from all the bumps and bruises that you get from football, aches and pains. And you can just go to the pool, practice some technique stuff, whether it's treading or swimming or drown proofing or whatever. Get in the pool for 30 minutes after practice. It's a good cool down. And you can at least practice some skill to prepare you for buds. But, you don't want to run too much. You don't want to, you don't want to do too many calisthenics because, you're in the middle of a lift cycle. Anyway, it's just hard to do playing football. It also depends on your position. If you're a lineman, obviously, that's going to be probably a 70, 80-pound weight loss between you and by the time you finish your college programming and you go into buds. So we have several D1 college football players move on to SEAL training and do quite well, but they really have to focus hard on, once the season is over and they're no longer in, lifting cycles and all of that. But my advice would be to go to swimming practice every day, just kind of cool down, loosen up, practice some technique stuff. Maybe before you lift, mix in some calisthenics as a warm up for those lifts. Nothing wrong with that. And mix in some sit-ups for the PT test. That's not going to hurt you. Since BRC is near Buds, do you guys ever train together? Nope, 2 different schools. We see each other, hang out. I had a couple of friends that were doing the BRC. I was going through, so it was fun to see them out there. What mentally separates a good spec ops candidate from an outstanding one? Whew, man, that's a deep question. That's a tough one. Personally, I would say a compete mindset, but also balance that with being a good team player, meaning you are competing to try to win. You bring that compete mindset to your log and to your boat crew to be able to, as a group, win things. That's probably the most important one than individual victories, to be honest with you, because it is a team. I mean, it's all about teamwork. So you can't be an individual doing this stuff and not be a good team player. So I've seen good spec ops candidates that crush everything, but they weren't very good team players. So I would say that doesn't make them an outstanding one, if that makes sense. So compete mindset, good team player. Is TAC-P considered spec ops? Would you recommend the same training as pararescue or combat control as prep? I mean, it is part of the Air Force Special Warfare community, and that pipeline is similar. And they do work with spec ops and, you know, calling in the airstrikes and stuff like that, which is a very important job. So, you know, it's as close to spec ops as I would think. You know, they have a specialized job within a spec ops team. So, but I'm not sure how they're being used right now either. We didn't have TAC-Ps when I was in. So it's just a different necessity that came out of the war on terror. So, but they're doing spec ops stuff. So, let's see. Couple of questions. Do you know what the current state of the pipeline is for grinder PTs? How many reps of push-ups, pull-ups, flutter kicks do we do at time at BUD/S? Current state of the pipeline. It is full. You know, the community is not trying to grow. So for the past 10 or 15 years, they set up new SEAL teams on the East Coast and West Coast. So that meant they needed to add a lot of SEALs every year to the community to fill those teams. Plus, it was a very challenging time in spec war, and there was a constant churn of people needed into the job. Now, all the positions are filled. However, every year, hundreds of people get out of the SEAL teams, whether they're retiring or they're medically discharged or they are deciding to resign commissions or whatever. And there are openings for people. So right now, the pipeline is set to fill those openings. And that opening are significant. So let's say they need 250 SEALs every year, because that's how many people, you know, go through. I don't know the exact number, but I would say it's in that ballpark. They're going to bring about 750 people to BUD/S in a year to get 250 to graduate, because it's about a, you know, 50 to 2/3, you know, 66% attrition rate, maybe even more in some classes. So that is the state. They are still looking for people. However, it's a lot more competitive because all these people that want to go there now have to strive higher to get a better score on their PSTs just to be a better candidate, which is the way it should have been always. You know, there should have been nobody going to BUD/S with 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 12-minute run and swim, something like that. You know, or it's 10-minute run swim. I mean, there's no reason why you can't do 8 and 9-minute swim and runs. Anyway, that's my opinion. Okay, let's see. What weight is a good target goal for overhead shoulder strength to get through BUD/S? You don't go too heavy. I mean, you're going to be lifting stuff over your head, but you're doing it with a boat crew. Let's say it's a, you know, a couple 100-pound log. If you're breaking that up between 6 or 7 people, it might be 40 or 50 pounds that you're actually pushing up over your head. So what we do when we simulate log PT is we use 50-pound dumbbells or 50-pound sandbags and do a lot of push presses with those and a lot of static overhead presses to simulate log PT. So good question. Would I recommend doing a BUD/S style training regimen for BRC? Yes and no. It's not going to hurt you. However, I will say that there is a lot more rucking in the Marine Corps than there is at BUD/S. So you will need to be a really good rucker, land nav, all that stuff. So kind of consider like Rangers, or I'm sorry, recon guys, kind of like a combination between SEALs and Rangers. So you almost got to train for both just a little more. I would say a SEAL program, yes, will be sufficient. However, there are just some minor differences that you need to focus on, like swimming with camis on, for instance. You're still going to need to swim with fins. You're still going to need to PT. You're still going to need to get ready for log PT and carrying boats around. So load-bearing skills. And you're still going to be running a lot, and it's fast running. I mean, that 3-mile timed run's no joke. At BUD/S, you got to do 4-mile timed runs. So I think it's sufficient. All right, let's see what else. Over here on Instagram, what ages are they roughly looking for when they are picking candidates? I have an opinion on this. I personally don't think teenagers should go to BUD/S, but every year I'm proven wrong that teenagers make it through. It's just a majority of the attrition rate is coming from teenagers. So most teenagers think they're ready, but they are not ready. Some are ready, and they're absolutely awesome people that, I would not have been able to make it at 18 years old. So maybe that's something that drives my opinion. But also when I went, I saw about 118-year-olds, and when we first started, and then when we graduated, we had, I think, 3 or 4, in our BUD/S class that graduated. So if you want to look at it with statistics, it's not the best place to go. So I personally recommend 20, 21, but, it's a big window. I mean, you can go anywhere from 17 up to almost 29. I think you have to be, before you turn 29, you have to be in boot camp. So you can be 28 and 11 months and something days before you go to BUD/S. So don't think of it as like you got to join at this tight window of, before you're 20 or you're a has-been. Some of my best, PT scores and physical scores, I was 25 to 35. Just because I, learned how to train better. I'd finished growing, gotten stronger. You'd start turning into man strength instead of boy strength. Big difference. It's a man's game out there, man. It's not a boy's game. So you can see that by some of the pictures of guys that are in third phase. They're not kids. All right. All right. What are your opinions on training rucking? I have a couple rucking articles. If you do Stu Smith rucking search, you'll see a rucking progression article I have like rules of rucking, as well as what is a ruck, and I describe it in different paces that you need to learn to create a strategy when you ruck. So I got a lot of opinions on training rucking. You know what? Anything that I'm talking about too, with the general answer that I'm giving, I will put a link in the description of this YouTube video, and it has a link, or you can go to Google and search it. I've written over 1,000 articles in the last 20 years, and 9 times out of 10, I've answered some of these questions. Sometimes they're new ones. All right. So for the PST, do you recommend going all out on everything or pacing yourself? Okay. This is one of those questions that I think I need to answer, because yes, you have to go all out and do your best, but that does not mean sprinting. All right. A 500-yard swim is not a sprint. It's not super long distance either, but you have to pace yourself. You can't start off your first lap and get 32 seconds on a 500-yard swim. If get your first 50 yards done in 32 seconds, you need to pull the reins back on yourself, drop that down to like 50 seconds, and then next thing you know, if you can maintain that pace for 9 more laps, you have scored yourself an 820. Right, 500 yards, 500 seconds. That's kind of my minimum standard. But it's a pacing drill. It's not a sprint. So when you say go all out, yes, you should go all out at this pace. So you hit that pace, and to train up to that pace means you got to train hard to do it. But when you take the test, you can't give it all on your swim when you have pull-up, push-up, sit-ups, and a 1.5 mile run to do right afterwards. Strategically speaking, that's stupid, right? I've seen a lot of guys who came in that were crappy swimmers that could crush everything else, and then whenever they took everything else after getting beat up in the swim, they were just average, right? When they could have, usually that's a wrestler. A wrestler who cannot swim will get crushed by the swim and have average scores on the PT and the run. Whereas if they just took out the swim, they would be probably number one, top 10%, top 1% of the PT and run, typically. So it's a strategy, and you should search the PST clinic on how to take the PST. It's not about going all out. It's performing your best on the PST, and you don't do that by sprinting anything. All right, that's a good question. And Buds, how often do you guys get exertion headaches and how to deal with it? I don't know. I think maybe dehydration headaches. You just drink water and electrolytes, but I've never heard of or experienced exertion headaches. Would you recommend your tactical athlete program for somebody going the aviation route? Yeah, it's not a bad program for guys that are going aviation. I'm assuming you're talking about like tactical fitness. This is a really good general plan for just being a tactical athlete. So there's running, there's swimming, there's rucking, there's lifting, there's calisthenics, there's speed and agility. Pretty much everything you need to be a well-balanced tactical athlete is in there. And it's tested. It has a little test I created. I created my own fitness test in here, and it kind of works around it. And it's called the Dirty Dozen Tactical Fitness Test. It's one of my favorite workouts to do and test people with. So it's a dozen workouts, and the workouts are, you got a 4-mile ruck, a 3-mile run, 25-pound pull-ups, body weight bench press, deadlift, max 1 rep, fireman carry. Can you carry somebody 100 yards of equal body weight? Plank pose testing. You max it out in 5 minutes. 400-meter sprint, 300-yard shuttle run, the Illinois agility test, which is just another like 15-second test. It's pretty good. Swim, you actually get points for can you swim or not. And swim 500 meters, what's your time? And then a 25-meter buddy tow. So that is 12 events. That is the Tactical Fitness Dirty Dozen workout plan. So it tests you on all of those regularly. So it's a lot of fun. Are my workouts still invite only? They've always been invite only. You don't just show up out of the blue without talking to me. You should email me and ask that question on when you want to show up, because I do have space. We're outdoors right now. We're doing a lot of calisthenics and cardio. Swimming workouts is an individual issue that we can discuss later. But yeah, they've always been invite only. It's just I was keeping the group small because of COVID issues. Let's see. All right, one more question about buds. Any idea what the current time frame for SEAL contract to reporting to boot camp is? Do we go through boot camp with other SEAL contractees? You might. There are people there now that trained with us that are in the same division. So that's nice. They're buddies that are going through boot camp together, starting the pipeline here soon together. But there's no like specialized group there that will separate SEAL candidates from others. You go through boot camp just like everybody else, and after boot camp you go to Buds Prep, which is considered your A school. They're in the process of moving that to Coronado, so there may be a flux of change in the next few months. I know it's going to happen this year. Right now, most people who are getting contracts, let's say they get a contract this week or next week, they are shipping out about 5 or 6 months later. So right now, to my knowledge, they are working out, doing their PSTs. They get a contract, they ship out in October. And this month is May. So yeah, they're about 5 months out. Let's see. All right, let's talk some workout stuff. Do you ever throw in a mini strength cycle to maintain during calisthenics blocks? You know what? That's pretty much what my spring training cycle is. It's a mix of lifting and calisthenics as we progress. But yes, this summer we are going to try that. And it will be very similar to what we did this winter, with the 3-week strength training followed by 1 week of PST training for 16 weeks. We're going to do 3 weeks of calisthenics and cardio and do a little deload from the high reps and the running, maybe drop the mileage of running a little bit, but kind of keep the speed there. And we'll throw some lifts in there that week. So it'll be a 3-to-1 ratio again. But it's just upside down. So it'll be 3 weeks of calisthenics cardio followed by 1 week of strength. And we're still swimming that week. You know, swimming doesn't change. But yes, that's how we're going to do it. Give it a shot. See what you think. I know it worked really well for us in the winter, the opposite way. So my theory is it will work really well for us in the summer as well. You know, especially if you need to try to maintain some strength. Though I will say, most people are maintaining pretty good strength during the calisthenics cardio cycle anyway, especially if they're coming off of a strength cycle. You know, it's not something you lose just because you quit doing it for a month or two. You maintain a good majority of your strength. All right, let's go over here to Instagram. Best way to prepare for logs and boats. I personally, I do this one workout I like. It's called the Sam Baby Murph. If you do a Google search, it's a free article out there. It's a good way to prepare for both logs and boats. You can get about a 40-50 pound sandbag. You do push presses, you know, like 100 push presses, like 100 pull-ups, like the Murph is. You do chest carry lunges for 100 per leg, so that's 200. And then you do 150 squats, shoulder squats with 150 chest carry sit-ups. And if you think about the 4 big exercises that you're going to be doing with a log, is you're going to be doing squats, chest carry lunges, and just having it on your shoulder running. So we add some runs in there, you know, quarter-mile runs, mile runs with the sandbag on your shoulder. And then we even put it up on our head. And you just got to carry it around like this too, just to, you know, feel the compression a little bit. But you should be doing neck exercises. Anytime you're laying on your back doing abs or flutter kicks or something, just lift your head up and down, left and right, you know, for sets of 25, 50, and you'll start building up a neck that can handle, you know, that extra weight. neck exercises are pretty easy to do. All right, so somebody says, I've taken the ASFAB and asked my recruiter about SO contracts, and they said they weren't offering any at the moment. That's a lie. Plain out lie. So you should not talk to a recruiter. You should talk to the SEAL mentor in your area and say, well, if that's the case, I'm not joining then, because that's just a freaking lie. So either find another recruiter or tell them you want to talk to the SEAL mentor that's in that recruiting district, because you got to take PSTs and then get your SO contract. It is not true. I have guys getting contracts this week. So, Jesus, recruiters kill me. Not a SOF question, but took the ACFT this morning. My score went up 60 points since training with it. Oh, that's cool. Nadrina. Yeah, good job. Been killing it. Yeah, that ACFT is legit, man. I like that test personally. I mean, there's a lot to it that, you know, requires some equipment, but I also wrote an article recently that was about, you know, ways that you can simulate that ACFT with logs or with tires if you don't have deadlift equipment. And there's just some fun ideas that you can get out there and do that stuff. But good job. Hey Stu, what would you recommend to someone who isn't from the US and wants to be a SEAL? You cannot be a SEAL unless you are a US citizen. Now, that means you have to become a US citizen, then you can join the military to go to BUD/S. You can join the military with a green card, but you can't get a secret security clearance without being a citizen. So you won't be able to get into spec ops programs unless you're a citizen. So you can join the military, regular military, as a green card holder and not a citizen. That will be probably a quicker process to become a citizen, or you can just do the whole become a citizen route, and then yes, you can go to SEAL training if you so choose. Let's see, playing college football now, how would you recommend training for spec ops and your sport without burning out, doing too much? I just asked that question, answer that question. Thought we had another different training question. Let's see, another question on recommendation for jet fin brands. I would go with the jet fins. I mean, they're a little expensive, but I like jet fins versus rocket fins, to be honest with you. That's my personal opinion. When doing the 50-50 workout, should you go strong weak side or strong side only? I would not play around with your weak side until you have mastered the strong side. Once you start mastering the strong side, then you can do sets of weak side stuff. It's not going to hurt you at all. In fact, it'd probably be helpful for you. Let's see. What are your thoughts on using the Whoop strap to see if I'm recovering enough? You know, I tried the Whoop band for a little while. Kind of went through all of my workouts for like 4 or 5 months of it. Just wanted to, I was curious, like calorie burns of my workouts, you know, and time, you know, how much time am I burning calories when I'm working out for an hour? How much time am I burning calories when I'm swimming for an hour? And it was pretty good for that. I like that. And it did tell me if I was sleeping good or not. So I think it's decent. I think there's always some margin of error in any of those type of things, but seems to have a decent algorithm in there that is at least giving you some information. Might not be 100% correct, but it's close. From my understanding of how it works. Let's see. I have a heavy lower body. My legs are real heavy. Should I back off from strength training for legs so that they don't get any bigger? Well, it depends. I mean, if you are a power lifter that needs big legs or a football player needs big legs, then no, you shouldn't. But if you're trying to get faster at timed runs and longer distance runs, yes. Strength training at the same time as trying to run faster for longer than 40 yards or 100 yards is something that doesn't mix very well. So if you're trying to add longer distance runs and swims to your training, I personally would turn your leg days into calisthenics exercises, squats and lunges, and running, rucking, and swimming with fins. That's what we do on our calisthenics cardio cycles. Whenever we hit a leg day, it's running hills, running sand, rucking, swimming with fins, and squats and lunges. You can use sandbags too if you want to do some sandbag lunges, but you do enough repetitions and enough volume, that's going to be plenty. I'm talking about hundreds of reps, not thousands or anything like that, but a couple hundred reps of lunges and a couple hundred reps of squats, with a couple miles of running and interval stuff. It's a good workout. Egyptian Commandos, good to see you. Can I use your bike, use a literal bike and bike around town instead of a stationary bike? Yeah, I guess it's if you have a nice place to ride that allows you to go fast and put out. The cool thing about a bike is that a stationary bike is that it's safer, and you're not going to get hit by a car, and you can open it up and go nuts. If you have a nice open area where not a lot of traffic, got some nice hills, go for it. Nothing wrong with that. I used to do that on country roads, not much cars out there. Let's see. All right, last question. Wow, been doing this for an hour. We'll go back over here to YouTube, see what's up. So those of you who are on Instagram, DM me if I didn't answer your question, and I'll get back to it. And or you can email me, Stu@StuSmith, if you think it's going to be a fairly long answer. I'm much better at typing an answer versus doing this. I'll probably be speaking to text and misspell 100 words when that happens. All right, so let's see. When first getting started training for swimming, what would you recommend? Okay, this is a great question to end on. I would recommend focusing on technique, maybe even getting some training from someone who knows the technique. If you can't do that, have somebody videotape you swimming 50 yards and then compare that to someone else who's doing it well, what that looks like, figure out what you have to fix. And if it's CSS, I got tons of CSS articles and videos. In fact, on YouTube channel alone and Instagram, got hundreds of videos of me critiquing people swimming and fixing it on the spot, as well as people that are flawless in their CSS and don't need my help, but it's just fun to watch them do their thing. But that's what I would do. So the first thing is technique, and the second thing is conditioning. It's great to have perfect technique, but if you're not in swimming shape, it doesn't matter. It's still a slow time. So that is what I would do. So with this Monday mindset workout compilation of Q&A, I am out of here. I got stuff to do. I got to write an article, and I will probably use one of these good questions here that that you guys asked. So I appreciate your time and asking them. If I didn't get to them, please send them to me, and I will answer them. I answer all my questions. So, all right. With that, Stu Smith out.